Right.
Two things in my office.
Hey there. Are you? There's a hum, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm hearing that.
What sort
Hang
of
on.
hum?
I'll mute me.
Yeah, as you did, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
what
me.
sort of hum is it?
It's high pitched. It
It's
sounds
like a bin lorry or something outdoors.
Ooh, is it that pitch? Ooh. Come on, keep.
I tell performances like this bring tears to my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the right line. I don't think it's you. I think it's probably just outside your.
Yeah, I think it is. Let me just
Your
have a
little
quick
studio.
look and let me see
Once
if
more,
I
we're
can
feeling, darling.
get the door.
Lee looks confused. Thank you, Paul. I often look confused. This is my normal face.
Sounds like someone is vacuuming, says David. It seems unlikely with Darren.
You know more than that. I tell you, it's been a right duff move for him. This because it's a noisy place.
He's moved out of London and found somewhere noisier. He's done very well. Not on YouTube yet?
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yes, it is. It's a fist fight breaking out on Discord as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, script. That'll help. That'll help. I need to know what I'm doing.
At least if there was a fist fight, Ninja Nurse is involved, so we can patch it up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's ambient. It's someone using power tools somewhere up the road.
Swine.
Yeah.
Suburbia.
Sort of, yeah. Seems to have temporarily stopped. We'll see. They're building they're building 8 houses opposite in a tiny, tiny space. It seems, I don't know. It seems like it would be
There's targets
nicer
to meet.
Well, yeah, exactly. They can sell 8 houses, 8 tiny houses for more than 2 decent-sized ones. So can't complain too much since we are living in a new build ourselves, directly opposite.
You need to get on with your soundproofing, Darren. So you've been so slack. So if you'd have done that properly,
It's
we
not
wouldn't have heard any of that.
soundproofing. It's acoustic treatment. It reduces reflections, but soundproofing is a much more, much more complicated and expensive business. I discovered actually that I thought for ages it wasn't doing anything for me, and then I realised after about this has been up for about 3 or 4 months that my microphone on my little helicopter headset had got twisted round, so it was actually only hearing me bouncing off the walls. So that's why I was so echoey. So it should be a bit better now.
We are all a bit random sometimes. It's amazing when you are editing this thing what is picked up that you just don't hear.
Well, you never hear anything on your own mic.
Well, especially if I'm using noise cancelling headphones as well. So, like last week when I was editing, I don't normally edit it, but and then you see your own track. It's like, what's all that on my track? It was like something was having about outside, obviously, but.
I'm tired. I didn't even drink anything yesterday, but just like it was a big day, and I think I might be.
What time did you finish there yesterday?
Oh, only about 3:45.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to get back
after me then.
No, I had to get back to Cambridge to pick up Scarlett from after school activities. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking on social media for a few of the things. I didn't see a lot. Mind you, I'm not on Twitter, so I was in the wrong platform. But I thought the only sort of person that I saw sort of saying anything about it was Karen from Acer.
Everyone was talking about it, Lee. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
It was
Maybe-
hot news.
maybe
Trending for most of the afternoon.
Maybe I've missed it then. I'll see what was happening.
Well, Barry pointed out it was quite funny that Dave Stevenson was there with like some really serious kit, taking really like good, high quality professional photos of all the winners. But also Alex Thomas was there, just like grabbing little snaps on smartphone, because that you can share immediately to the socials. So probably like what did get publicised was not the full quality that Mr. Stevenson would get off his sensor, but it was up there like within 10 seconds of the shot being taken.
Yes.
There is no Twitter now, says Captain Kremen. Quite.
I'm going to call it. I'm going to dead name it until it finally shuts down, I'm afraid. Did any of the PC Pro drink get awards yesterday?
It's not us who's got the drink problem, I don't think.
PC Pro drinks.
I think we're all very well behaved, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we're getting old. And I was going to say we're coming in from far away as well, but I guess you've always done that, haven't you?
Yeah, distance is no barrier to me drinking. It was just just other things to do, I'm afraid.
Yeah. You can't drink when you're coming on a train from the north, because the chances are you're gonna have to get out somewhere and push the damn train.
You can only drink if you're coming in on a train from the north. I find that's the only bearable way to get through it. And then there goes half the listeners.
Yeah.
We'll see you again next week. Tim's back.
It's not 1 p.m. running, Dak. Don't do that to me. We've got 5 seconds to go.
We have got synchronized clocks, my friend, and it is now 1 p.m.
It's 1 o'clock.
If not synchronized audio.
Back on your perch. Right. Shush, otherwise we're going to be late. Good afternoon and welcome to the PC Pro podcast. It is Thursday the 6th of November 2025 and I am Barry Collins, News and Features Editor at PC Pro. And with me today I have Darian Graham-Smith.
Hello there.
Hello. And I've got Lee Grant.
Hello.
Hello. So as we were discussing pre-podcast recording in the preamble that the lovely people live on Discord get every week, it was PC Pro Awards yesterday. We'll talk more about that later on when we get to that magazine thing that's appearing on shelves. But for the meantime, we're going to start with Affinity. Readers may remember that Serif, the company who publishes Affinity, was bought last year by Canva. Canva, a company who's sort of best known for their sort of social media kind of services where you can instantly knock up posts to go on to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those lovely social services. And Affinity, who was a very well-respected, or Serif, who's a very well-respected British firm who've been in the publishing software business for a long while, was snapped up. And there were fears that when Affinity or Serif was snapped up, that their wonderful product model of offering software the old-fashioned way for a one-off purchase price instead of making you pay a monthly subscription like our friends from Adobe do, that model would be threatened, that Canva would force them down a subscription. And they've rather taken the opposite path of making it entirely free. The free Affinity apps that were there previously, so that's Designer, Photo, and Publisher, he says, I've been molded into one product, and they have made it free to download for both PC and Mac. There is a slight asterisk to that in that if you want to benefit from the new AI features that are available, so generative AI, draw me a picture of a cat, whatever, then you do have to pay for a Canva premium subscription, which starts at about $9.99 a month from memory. But you might argue that's fair enough because obviously generative AI comes with a cost, and it's probably a bit unfair to expect a company to give that away completely for free. And the only other real stipulation is that you need to sign up for a Canva account, a free Canva account, to download the software in the first place. So in all likelihood, you're going to get a bit of marketing waffle through the post. I think John Honeyball posted in the week about how he'd got an email from Canva already. But I think you can opt out of the marketing, the more overt marketing stuff anyway. So this is a very much a head-on challenge to Adobe, who are trying to sell a similar package, although there's a lot more in Adobe's Creative Cloud package for £50 a month, and Affinity are giving it away for free. Your thoughts, Darian?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way it was always a little bit the idea that Affinity Photo in particular was a complete professional standard replacement for Photoshop. I have to say, I always found that a little bit optimistic. It's a very powerful piece of software that can do a lot of stuff, but there are features that the likes of us who work in print production need and use every day, where Affinity Photo was not on the same level, to be honest. And also I found like the development was kind of slow, the support was a bit unresponsive, unhelpful. Sorry, this feature just isn't implemented. So I'm in a way quite happy that we have a bit of clarity between the professional grade Photoshop, which I think is all of the Adobe apps are targeting more and more, not that they were ever not that they were ever really aimed at just your casual individual, but I feel like the stuff they're doing now with bundling in more and more, of course, AI features, but also other high end image editing and so forth, capabilities. They're going for the high ground basically, and I think it's nice that the lower ground, as it were, the cheaper, more affordable, kind of simpler alternative is now actually free, so you can recommend it to someone in good conscience. You can say, just try it out, give it a go, this will probably do what you want. And at the moment, as you say, it is free, and the only thing you pay for is the generative AI. The only thing that I'm dubious about is, of course, every cynic on social media has been saying, give it 12 months and it'll be, get Affinity Pro and now you'll get this extra feature. Or perhaps, I don't know Canva. Canva itself, it's a bit of an upstart. I know like the millennials and the Gen Zs, they use it. You say to them, can you I can't open this in Photoshop, and they say, Photoshop, I don't know, I just did it in Canva. There's an industry divide there, and I think they know what they're doing, and Canva know what they're doing, and they're probably well positioned to extract as much value as they can from this. So I wouldn't like to swear that everything that's currently possible will remain free and unlimited forever. That said, I'm sorry, I just need to really quickly say I have no reason to suspect that Canva will tighten the screws in that way. That's just a general observation on the way the software market goes, particularly with things which are offered for free.
So without wishing to spoil my own interview, there's an interview coming up with Ashley Hewson, who's the CEO of Serif, in the next edition of PC Pro, not the one that's out on the shelves today, next month. But I was speaking to him earlier this week, and he was pretty insistent that this 100% model is here to stay. This isn't some kind of marketing get-in. He said that this had been discussed certainly when Canva approached Serif for the takeover in the first place, and that this is very much their strategy to leave the core creative tools and all core features. And he mentioned, there's like a brush tool coming next week that's part of the core package that will be offered as a free update. They're not just going to try and make every feature from now on part of some subscription. So we'll have to take him on his word for now and see how things progress. But that's certainly not the intention at this point, according to the CEO. Lee, what do you make of it all?
I'm quite excited by this for a couple of reasons. In the consumer space that I mainly work in, people that like to edit their photos and do a bit of image twiddling and things like that have really been missold things recently. Not missold. I guess there's not a lot of options out there really, because Adobe Premiere Elements has gone subscription as well. And I think last time I read about that, I think you pay a price and I think you get 3 years. So there's money attached to that now. So the one that people used to love was Picasa. For some reason, they used to love Picasa, and obviously Google ditched that. And you got your open source variants, but they're all a bit much of a muchness. So, and I think just parking your photo people to one side, you've got the people that are doing publishers. And of course, early next year, Microsoft are pulling Microsoft Publisher, which people were snorting and going, well, who'll still use that? And I can point you to 1 million organizations and church organizations and volunteer organizations that have been using this for 7,000 years and have never updated it because it just works. So there's a bit of an open goal here that it seems that Affinity have really sort of firing at. And I downloaded the product. I've had a look at it. It's very nice. I was also with Darian on the slightly skeptical about, is this going to be a bait and switch? But I think, in all honesty, what they're doing is giving the option of a free product that does a lot of stuff that a lot of other free products don't do. And if they are true to their word and they're going to support it, I think that's all very nice and very lovely. The other side of this is Canva is huge and has just grown so much. We've lost a web client recently because the client has built their website in Canva, and it works, and it's really good.
Yeah.
And so many, but it's not a natural thing for a lot of people to say, oh yes, I use an online tool to do my posters or things like that. There's still a lot of people that are very much desktop app orientated. And I think this move by Affinity sort of bridges that gap between desktop and Canva's online portal. So I think it could be very nice in the future, because I know your AI features are built into the Affinity app. So if you've got your Canva Pro account, you can tap into a few features. But if they do a bit more of that, and you can do more of the Canva work on the desktop apps, I think that could be a really nice thing. That you could see how that would be a nice little upsell for a couple of quid a month to get a few extra features. So it might work that way. So yeah, I think I am largely optimistic about this.
I think the one thing we need to be careful of, because I think you both sort of mentioned it, is I wouldn't say Affinity is a consumer product. I wouldn't say it's a sort of lower down the pecking order than Photoshop or Illustrator in that sense. I think they're both aimed at professional users. I don't think the average publisher user, for example, is going to get on brilliantly with Affinity. There's a lot of complexity there. They're professional products. I think what what Affinity are aiming for is that freelancer creator market. Is what I was saying yesterday, as a means to get into maybe the bigger accounts. So of course the big problem, the big stranglehold that Adobe has is it's got 85% of the market, but the files, what do you call it? The file factors are the ones that everybody uses in industry. So in our industry, everybody uses InDesign, and you need InDesign files when you're sending stuff to print or whatever. If you try to send a printer or designer, a freelance designer, an Affinity file, they would sort of shrug their shoulders and go, no, I can't work with that. The difference about that, making that free now, of course, is that anyone can open the Affinity file in Affinity. So even if they're not used to the software, they can at least open a file. And I think they're trying to use that as the sort of stalking horse to get more people across that one of those barriers of like, I can't even open this file, has gone.
Well, that was my other thought on this. Excuse me. So in the latest PC Pro, Barry, you're trying the Raspberry Pi 500 for a week as an experiment, and you referenced the time that PC Pro tried Linux for a week and the success. And I thought, could this be the new PC Pro challenge? Spin it around. Could Tim put PC Pro together using Affinity and find someone that would print it? I mean, obviously he'll be on the phone in about 10 minutes saying, please cut this out. But, is it at that level?
Well, I laughed at that because the idea of getting all of our staff and all of our assets and everything into Affinity Publisher or whatever it's called now is a joke. But when you say and find someone to print it, I mean, the truth is we output the pages as standard PDFs, industry standard format. Affinity will do that absolutely fine. So if you're a sole trader, if you're building up something from scratch, then there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't make your own magazine that looks and feels exactly like PC Pro, and ride that wave as high up the professional ladder as you want to.
We do, but the point I was making previously is like if Tim, for example, is putting this together in Affinity and Bill's unavailable this month, so he needs to go and find another freelance designer, finding somebody who knows Affinity, and there's a lot of similarity between the two products, but it's not, there's a lot of learning to do as well. That's where that becomes a challenge, and that's going to be really difficult for them to overcome, whether they make it free or not. The industry is embedded in Adobe software.
Well, I think this is what I was trying to say earlier. I kind of really fumbled the point, I'm afraid. But when I tried out switching from Photoshop for a while, because I do hate paying the subscription, I tried switching to Affinity Photo for a good couple of months, and I really gave it a good go. But the learning curve, the switching from Photoshop to, it's not easy or smooth. You really have to learn what is not possible. It takes you quite a while to learn the controls that work differently, and it will take you a while to build into your workflow the things which are better or available in Affinity Photo which aren't in Photoshop. One of those things actually is kind of very pervasive adjustment layers, which Photoshop's got better at since. So in a way, when I was saying it was a good thing, I think it was maybe that we're going to have perhaps less of a muddy middle ground of you wouldn't try to use Affinity Photo, you wouldn't try to use Affinity Publisher, hopefully, to build a career in in print production or whatever it is, and that's, maybe it's not good that there are fewer options. Maybe it's not good that there's a monopoly being strengthened in if Adobe is losing a competitor in that way, or losing a potential competitor. But at the very least, you know where you stand. God, that's a really weak point. I'm sorry.
But wasn't it the case sort of historically, and forgive me, I'm talking about two learned gentlemen who've worked in the print industry for a while, and I absolutely know nothing. But I always believed, was it Quark or Quark? Which was the cheese?
Yeah.
that had a stranglehold for years until they absolutely priced themselves out the market, and then Adobe rolled in. Maybe history is going to repeat.
Yeah, I mean that is. I'm sure that's live in the minds of the people at Canva, and so if they, nothing lasts forever, and as you say, Quark was absolutely an industry standard, and then lost its way to Adobe. So there's hope. Let's not write it off. I'm just saying it's going to be a massive uphill challenge.
But is that what they're trying to do, though? It seems that they're not trying to challenge Adobe. It looks like they're trying to take that market that Adobe's left behind by getting rid of perpetual licenses.
Maybe, but then you've got to accept that's quite a small. I think that's the starting point. I think, obviously a company like Canva's got big ambitions. Canva's got a lot of products that are, Canva itself is very similar to what Adobe Express is in terms of feature set and whatnot. And to be fair, I think Adobe Express came after Canva. That was Adobe's reaction to Canva. So those two companies are pretty fiercely competitive as it is. And I guess it's now just down to sort of the mind share of customers. If you're a Canva user and you need professional tools, can they get you to use Affinity rather than what would have been the default option previously, which would be Photoshop and InDesign or whatever?
I think we're maybe being a bit dinosaur-y here in kind of like thinking still about print, which is probably, a tiny portion of what they're actually interested in. And it is vastly more important when you're working collaboratively on a magazine or on a book or something where where different people need to get into the pages and make changes. You need to be on a standard platform. When you're manipulating images, it is less important. I think you can get away with just your art workers using whatever tools they are interested in. And as I think Lee says, Canva is enormous. It's been somewhat invisible to those of us who've come up through, the traditional magazine publishing path. But I wouldn't want to naively say, it's just some, some fly-by-night fad that a particular generation have latched onto, and they'll be onto something else in a year or two, because it doesn't look like that's the case at all.
I know a lot of people in the small little bit of business work that I do that, when they're doing presentations, build it in Canva and then literally just use PowerPoint as the display engine. It really is a really powerful bit of kit for, you throw your images in there, rearrange them, and it will spit it out in whatever size or format for whatever platform you want, just very, very simply. It's very nice.
So I'm just going to answer a couple of questions that popped up on Discord. If you want to join us live on Discord, we're here at 1 p.m. every Thursday at pcpro.link/Discord. William Kirk says, can Affinity read Photoshop files? No, it can't. It can't read any of the proprietary Adobe formats. In the print world, there's IDML files, which is the sort of InDesign. It can read some of those in, but its compatibility is shaky.
I think you can open some PSD files. It depends on what features you're using. I think if it's a simple one that if someone's just saved a flat picture as a PSD, you should be fine. It's just that there are things like, particular sorts of warp layer and stuff that Affinity Photo doesn't support. So in a way, it's kind of even worse, because it's like maybe you have to try it out. It's a bit uncertain.
Okay. Captain Kremen says, I use Lightroom Classic. Is there an Affinity equivalent? No, is the simple answer. There's no sort of Adobe Bridge equivalent, there's no Lightroom equivalent. So that is, if you are a photographer and you're looking for something to organize your photos as well as edit them, which is a sort of Lightroom Photoshop kind of relationship with Adobe, they've only really got the editing part of that now down. So maybe that's a potential for them in the future, but I don't know again how interested they are in that market or not. Okay, I think we probably spent long enough time on Affinity. But as I say, keep an eye out for the interview with Ashley Hewson, the CEO, in next month's issue of PC Pro. And we'll move on. Darian, some Windows shenanigans this week.
Yeah, so as we all know, the much-loved Windows 10 finally officially hit end of life. Was it last week or week before? Unless you are using, unless you've subscribed to the ESU or signed up for extended support by jumping through various hoops, or unless you're using an Enterprise LTSC version, which is still in support until, just let me check my files, 2027. That's the long-term service version, which is intended for enterprises that for some reason have systems that they want to be very, very stable, but they want them to run Windows. So that's so basically, although Windows 10 is notionally from you can't walk into a shop and buy a new laptop with Windows 10 on it, there are still plenty of people who, via one means or another, are officially and legitimately entitled to continue using it and to continue getting updates. So it was a bit embarrassing when those people started seeing pop-ups last week saying Windows 10 is no longer in support, you must upgrade right now. This caused probably lots of consternation to individuals who thought they'd done all the right things to get an extra year of support. I'm sure it caused even more concern for businesses who thought they were using, and indeed correctly, they'd done all the right things. They had installed and licensed the long-term support version of Windows. So to be seeing this alert now, after support has notionally already ended, so it's basically saying, as of this instance, you are not secure, that's something pretty alarming. Needless to say, it's just a mistake. Microsoft just made a little error like that. They fixed it now. They rolled out an update which gets rid of the bogus messages. But it's just it's just like the cherry on top of the terrible sort of messaging and bad handling of this particular transition that it continues to leave a bad taste in the mouth.
Yes, not Microsoft's smartest move. Lee, is this hit your radar?
Oh, good grief, yes. Certainly since August, Windows 10 migrations have really been, forming the majority of my work. And the issue rollout bears, as Darian says, it's all the hallmarks of being run by Homer Simpson, which is odd considering that Microsoft's first issue was Windows 7. So it's not as if this is new to them. They've been doing this for a while now. But I'm helping customers and seeing all sorts of nonsense. So what Darian is saying doesn't surprise me at all. I'm seeing machines that are needing hacks to try and get this thing on because the machines which should enroll are not enrolling, and it should enroll for up to 10 machines on one account, and I'm seeing that not working. Some people have been asked for money, some people have not, some people have had scam callers claiming to be from Microsoft offering to take the money, etc. So the scammers have got in on that one as well. And of course, this is only a tiny percentage of people that actually know the thing is there, because at the moment it's hidden away on the Windows Update page in the in the settings. There's no sort of upfront messaging saying click here and you can have another free, because of course it's almost as if Microsoft don't want you to do it. It's been so late, it's been so badly implemented, and it's now hidden away. It's just not their finest hour, but what do they care?
So not the only bit of Windows news this week, Darian.
Yeah, another bug. This one's interesting. So the first bug I talked about, I think that came up a couple of weeks ago. This one might have been in Windows for possibly 8 years. I'm not really sure. This is a bug where when you've got some Windows updates to install and you select update and shut down, it installs the updates, but instead of shutting down, it restarts. And you might, if you've left it overnight, you might come back and find yourself looking at the login screen and going, "Oh, that's not quite right." But this has never really been big news. I feel like I've heard people talk about this from time to time. It seems to be quite well known, but it's not caused, major security concerns or anything. So it hasn't been the focus of great attention. So I did a little bit of kind of hunting around online to see when I could find people talking about this behavior. Definitely it was happening in 2021 in Windows 10. There's some people saying weird behavior with update and shutdown in 2017. I'm not quite sure if that's the same thing. But Microsoft has, I don't know that it's ever really acknowledged exactly what was causing this wrong behavior. But it has fixed it in the latest version of Windows 11. I think they've simply kind of rather airily said addressed a condition where update and shutdown would restart the computer. And at last, after it could be as much as 8 years, you can reliably, we are told, if you're running the very latest version of Windows 11, update and shut down, just like it says on the button. So, 2 steps, well, what was it? 2 steps backwards, and now this is maybe half a step forward.
Yeah, I have 100% seen this error myself on my PC. But the thing I've never really understood about it, and I assumed it was put in as a bug almost, is that why would you update and shut down? Because the whole process of updating requires, it gets installed and then it restarts, and obviously some things get updated in the BIOS or whatever as part of that update. So it always felt like, why would you immediately shut down after updating them? Am I missing something, Lee?
Well, oh, sorry.
Go on.
No, I don't think you are missing anything. Where I think this started to happen was when the update started to get bigger. And if you remember, there was always that annoyance that when you turned off your Windows 7 machine, or going back a bit further, your Vista and XP machines, that if it was doing a big update, it would be hours before your machine actually turned off. And I think what she actually did was just split the difference. And essentially it did half the update on the shutdown and finished it off on the update, because normally what you get is you turn it on the next day and it's at 33% and off it goes.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was the reasoning behind that one.
Well, Running Deck says it was meant to update, restart, and then shut down after that. Was that?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Right. Okay. So it would put its back on and in, so your computer wasn't left hanging there for hours doing nothing. Okay.
Again, just quite badly implemented, but
Yeah, badly explained as well. I mean, it should explain that in, at least in a tooltip, so that you know what the expected behaviour is. Maybe it did work, and I just wasn't noticing.
but sorry, Darren. Off you go.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit. I think you're asking for something a little bit unfair there, Barry. I mean, basically, all it does is it installs it puts the update stuff in place, ready to install at the next reboot, and then it has to shut down all the systems and close all the files and so on. And then the way it's supposed to work is it just reboots, and maybe you'll see the BIOS screen, maybe you'll hear a beep, but it goes into its regular, as it would do when you next start up the computer. Windows is updating files, dum-de-dum-de-dum, and then it should just shut down after it said updating files. So the only way in which that would be different to just a clean shutdown is that you see a BIOS screen between between the absence of the desktop and that Windows is installing updates now. It's I don't think it's conceptually very well. I don't find it conceptually very confusing. I do understand that in terms of programming the precise sequence of events, that it's quite counterintuitive to start up the operating system and then immediately shut it down without ever inviting the user to log on. I can imagine that something went wrong in the flowchart there that caused this bug, but I don't think it's a particularly complicated thing they were trying to achieve from a conceptual point of view.
All right, Nietzsche, we'll let it lie. Is there anything else to say on these Windows before we shuffle along?
The only other thing, I've two other things. Well, it's caused a lot of confusion for people, and this will be a real benefit, is the amount of times I get brought a laptop that's just simply got a flat battery, and it's people that have turned off their machine and gone to bed, and then come in the morning, press the on button, and not quite worked out that it's flat because it hasn't restarted, it's fired up again, and the battery's died. So it will stop all those jobs. But the other,
it's going to kill you, this, Lee.
No, not that I don't charge for that. But it's
You'd like to take it out the back with a pair of jump cleats and go, "It's all right, Mrs. Miggins, I've got it. That'll be £45, please."
The awkward bit is trying to tell people that it's just got a flat battery and them looking at you like you think they're mad. And I'm having to explain that they're not mad. It's the computer's fault. The other one is, and this is to do with Outlook. If any of you use Outlook Classic out there and use IMAP accounts or multiple IMAP accounts, you'll know that Outlook has a magnificent habit of just freezing up. You notice that halfway through the day you've had no email because it's just locked. So what people do is they go and shut down their computer. And if you hit shutdown on a modern Windows laptop, it doesn't shut down. It's like a hibernate. It's in a hybrid fast startup mode. So when you fire it back up, Outlook is still locked. The way you do it is you actually restart, but not everyone does that. So I would like them to actually go back to defaulting to shut down as being shut down, not this hybrid fast startup, because it causes so much aggro.
Yeah, 100% behind you there. And that's why I'm on a Mac now. Let's move along. And I managed to lose my script, but I think we're coming to you here, Lee.
Yes. So we spoke a month or so ago about the recent government announcements about building data centers here in the UK as part of there was that big money deal with America. I think Trump was over. Anyway, the US, as you can appreciate, are pretty much down the road on this by some considerable time on sort of the data center explosion. And there's been a nice piece by just to cite AJ Dellinger from Gizmodo, who's sort of cobbled together a few things about massive server farms springing up in small-time America and how it impacts local communities. And I think it's really quite interesting. I'll just give you a couple of headline facts. I won't sort of ruin his article, but 75% of data centers in the US have been built in just 33 of the 3,143 counties across the whole of America. And these are tiny areas, and for these areas geographically it's fill your boots time. Now the Wall Street Journal highlighted the Umatilla County in Oregon. It's got a population of about 82,000 people, so we're talking the same size of Wigan or Corby or Scunthorpe, so not big places. And in 2011,
Wigan, Corby and Scunthorpe.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's another 3 listeners we've gone. So in 2011, Umatilla's government had a budget of 7 million. In 2024, it was 144 million. What happened? Amazon arrived to build a data center hub, and suddenly workers and cash arrived, and money poured into local schools. The need for housing, robotics labs were opened because of Amazon money. It caused a building surge. Sales went through the roof, and this trickles into local businesses and bars and restaurants. It really was boom time, I suppose. And the Wall Street Journal has sort of found this is happening in other places. Richland Parish, which I wonder if nominative determinism works on land masses and things like that. Richland Parish is a strange one. That's in Louisiana. Population 20k. So we're talking Chislehurst, Dumbarton, Risca, Antrim, Sligo. I'm going around all the UK to not eliminate anyone. Why has it happened there? Meta's building a £10 billion data center, and there's plenty of other cases. You get the idea what's going on here. So why, I hear you cry, are you belly aching about this as normal? Surely this is a good thing, and this is what this report is really saying. Dellinger's story says that the arrival of Amazon in Umatilla County saw house prices double, which was affordable for those on Amazon wages, but out of the question for people in the local community. And local reports also discovered that Umatilla County can't build houses, affordable or not, fast enough. So some cities are lending developers money to build faster on the agreement that the money will come back when the houses sell, i.e. on the assumption that the demand will always be there, the spend now, pray later methodology. And as we know, this can be very dangerous. Now, quiz time, boys. I'm going to give you a quote just to emphasize the last point, and you get a point if you can tell me who said it. Here's the quote. Data centers, once they're operational, don't bring a lot of jobs. They do on the construction side, but you're not really getting a ton of that community benefit from having a data center truly in your backyard. Now, who said that?
Was it Bernard Cribbins?
No, it was not.
Ed Miliband?
No, it's Lindy Stone, Principal Corporate Counsel at Microsoft.
That was my second guess.
Yeah. I know you're big fans of Lindy. This was during a legal webinar only last month. The webinar called Data Centers, Construction, Contracts and Debt. Okay? So, of course, there are many reasons why Amazon built data centers in a town the size of Ashford in Kent. And one of them may be that Umatilla County gave them an exemption on property taxes for 15 years, which, according to the NPR, becomes $6 billion over the last 5 years across the whole of the country. So how does this play out? Now, a 2025 report from the University of Michigan called What Happens When Data Centers Come to Town. And I'm going to ask Dr. Darian if he'll add this to the show notes, because it's only 18 pages and it really is very good and worth a read. It concludes with this simple statement: do not enact data center tax breaks, citing they don't deliver on promised economic benefits. Despite claims of job creation, data centers typically generate few permanent positions because of certainly relative to the scale of the public subsidy they receive. Now, I'm not even going to go on about the environmental stuff here, as you would expect in terms of water shortage, blackouts, and surging localized energy bills. But this all adds to the frustration of local communities. And pushback is now starting to happen. So residents in Tucson, Arizona have forced legislators to drop an Amazon data center campus, and others have followed in Wisconsin, Texas, and Indianapolis. And currently, about $64 billion worth of data center projects are currently being blocked or delayed by people power. So there we go. So if when next time Keir Starmer is knocking on your door offering to build a data center in your backyard, there is something you can do about it.
Well, I think there's a very different attitude over here, because I've seen there's one that was planned locally to me here. One I saw last week near my parents in Essex, and everywhere you go down the streets there, it's like no to the data center. We don't want the data center. It seems to be big opposition to it from local residents. In certainly the two I've seen plotted in the south of England. So I wonder whether there's a sort of divide between. I know it sounds like there's some latter day opposition. Once a data center's in, people start to realise it's not so hot in the States. But I wonder if there's a sort of difference in attitudes to this kind of development on the different sides of the Atlantic. What do you think, Darren? You've got a pensive look on.
Yeah, I'm trying to weigh up what I think. I mean, that was an awful lot of information. I'm in awe of Lee's research skills. But
well, ChatGPT is very good, to be fair.
Oh, how dare you! I don't use ChatGPT.
I mean, I think it sounds true. It sounds very believable that data centers don't actually, in isolation, drive an enormous amount of economic activity in the area where they're located. Because I mean, the whole function is to is to distribute data around the country. That being the case, I mean, because I would understand people being concerned if they were building massive factories or whatever, and suddenly you have an enormous influx of people. You don't have the infrastructure in place. This is kind of quite close to my own interests because I'm part of the problem in that I recently moved to Cambridge, which has lots and lots of businesses and technology firms kind of building more and more stuff and building labs and centralizing here, and the public services aren't able to keep pace with the growing demand, and in particular transport, because it's a historic city. You cannot just build more roads or lay more cables in certain places. Anyway, so that being the case, I mean, I was sort of thinking, would I really mind if there were a data center around here? And I have to say, I kind of came to the conclusion that I think I must have missed something. I don't really understand how that would affect my quality of life if it's really just an aircraft hangar that has a load of fiber. I mean, apart from the disruption of the works of actually building the thing, and heaven knows we've got enough of that going on around here, then it seems like almost the least intrusive way for the AI boom to affect my physical life.
I think power seems to be the big issue that's both of the campaigns I've seen. It's you sort of get nuclear power station graphics on the banners outside people's house saying no to the data center. I think that's the big fear.
And certainly localized increase in bills, because suddenly the electric company has to power this thing because that's not been thought out properly, and they've decided that they're not losing out. So it puts a lot of pressure on the local grid, and that is depending on, and it obviously can be very different over here, but certainly in the US, where your local energy provider literally is maybe in the city that you live in, nowhere else, suddenly the prices go through the roof because that is the only person sort of providing that. But I think one thing that's really quite interesting is when they start talking about how Amazon comes in and suddenly is building schools and is developing robotics labs. This is exactly the same playbook as happening with the oil industry. I'm following a story at the moment about Microsoft's investment in a carbon capture facility in the Permian Basin in Texas. I've been talking to sort of people out there and going through notes on from the police meetings and things like that, and find out that the oil company that runs this whole facility that Microsoft has invested in has bought the sheriff a new transporter, and has bought the school, and the university is supplied by the oil industry. And suddenly anything that is basically anyone that suddenly decides that they need to move against some of the social and economic and environmental downsides of having this plant there is shut down at all opportunities, because basically I wouldn't want to say that the authorities have been bought, but they certainly got a very nice new car out of it.
A few interesting quotes on Discord on this one. Wondercall says 5 years ago in Fernie Island, I hope I pronounced that right, Apple wanted to build a data center. 3 people objected, one of them not even living there, and after 4 years of legal procedures, Apple gave up. JJ says there are 6 or 8 huge data centers planned in West and Northwest London, where currently National Grid cannot supply new development of more than 12 dwellings. Yet each data center developer says they've got the power requirements covered, but they won't say how. And there was again talk of this nuclear power to power data centers. I know Bill Gates has talked about these sort of micro nuclear reactors that can produce power to potentially get us through the AI revolution.
Absolutely. and when they exist in real life, that'll be great.
Yeah. Well,
you know, as William Kirk says, nuclear is green, no CO2, which is absolutely true. But it's also like saying that the Titanic set off for New York and not finishing the story. There's an end bit which is quite important, and we haven't got rid of that yet.
All right, let's not get into this argument. We're running out of time as it is. Darian, we're coming back to you.
Yeah, surprisingly, there's some new news about Moore's Law. Yeah, I know. You thought we'd seen the back of that several years ago. Moore's Law is a rule of thumb that observes, it's certainly not a law, that transistor density doubles about every 18 months, and this has stalled partly because as transistor sizes get smaller and smaller, you start to have to deal with wibbly-wobbly quantum effects, which really complicate matters, and also just the manufacturing gets harder in general. You know, there's only so far you can shrink a transistor. So Xiaohang Li has been working at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia along with his team, and they've come up with a possible solution. And I love this because it's so aggressively practical. They just stack transistors on top of each other rather than trying to make them smaller. Sorry, they have what some people have described as transistor skyscrapers. They've piled them 41 stacks tall. And as I understand it, this means you can just have many of them working in parallel and get a lot of work done in a very condensed, what's the word I want? Volume, not area, because it all gets a bit... I've got to think three-dimensionally now. Of course, there have previously been... I think it was Intel's 3D high-K metal gates or whatever. There was a whole presentation about it about 10 years ago, probably 20 years ago now. But yeah, 41 stacks is, I think it's like 10 times as tall as any previous one. And it can be scaled arbitrarily. The only problem is the manufacturing gets obviously harder and harder, and also heat buildup becomes a consideration. So they're suggesting that this is perhaps a way of cramming more function into a very small surface area, but not necessarily getting more performance per watt or per degree centigrade. Centigrade, what year is this? It's degrees Celsius. But still, it's it's just kind of really lovely and fascinating to see the way that the ingenuity that keeps coming into chip design to keep things moving forward. Indeed.
Lee, anything to say on this one?
The bit that really interested me was I thought if you do multiple layers, it's like baking a cake with multiple tiers. You know, the more tiers you throw in, the more risk of it going wrong. But you know, was it 600 units? I think they've done in the trial, and they mainly all seem to work.
Researching other people's stories as well. It's ridiculous.
Not the worst thing I've been called today. And you know, it's certainly not a disaster. So credit to those folks as well. You know, we all know the problems that Intel had with its 10 nanometer launch, which was years late because they couldn't get that right. But the other thing that's really nice about this, because they said that the secret to doing these layers is to actually lower the temperature. So this whole thing is made at room temperature. So it's much more energy efficient to create it. So it saves a lot of emissions. It saves a lot of heat generation. So theoretically, whether this chip is any quicker or not, they've come up with a very environmentally friendly way of making processors. So I'm very excited.
Did you see? I think it was in New Scientist. They found a friendly scientist from Indiana in the US to explain the thermal issues. A gentleman called Mohammed Alam. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I just loved his analogy. He was kind of thinking, how can I explain this in a way that people will understand? So he said, when you have multiple layers of transistors stacked on top of each other, and I quote, "It's a bit like trying to stay cool while wearing several parkas at once."
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go on to Nibs and Hot Hardware, just time to remind you there is a new magazine on sale. It looks nothing like this. Well, it looks a little bit like this, but this is the subscriber cover, which is majoring on the awards, which is where Darren and I were yesterday at the PC Pro Awards lunch. So you can find out who all of the lovely award winners are if you've not already seen their smudgy photos on social media, for a whole range of, I think we've got 25 different categories this year from memory. He said, the guy who wrote the blooming thing. But go and have a look if you want to find out who to give your business to in 2025. Elsewhere, Lee mentioned the feature I wrote about the Raspberry Pi 500 and trying to use that as my office PC for a week and how well I get on. I'll let you find that out. Darren, what's in your wonderful section this month?
I don't know. I was just saying I've gone and left my copy of the mag in the house, so I'm not quite sure what's in this one.
Oh
Sorry.
my God, where are we?
I know.
What's new in Word? What's new in Word?
Sorry?
What's new in Word is the one I'm looking at.
Oh no, it's
yeah,
Nick's.
Yeah, no, Nick wrote it. It is in my section, but that was written by Nick
right,
Rawlinson.
sorry.
Yes. So this is because if you sign up for Microsoft 365, Microsoft feels a sort of a need to keep on rolling out new features and updates to justify the ongoing expenditure. And so we've just taken a look at what's appeared in the last year, 18 months or so. And there's some pretty good stuff in there. I mean, it's quite Copilot heavy, as you'd expect. But in general, I have to say, I think Word has improved more in the past 2 years than it probably did in the 15 before that in terms of actual useful, useful features. The other one I was just going to say, I remembered I've got a feature in there that I wrote myself about 5 things you didn't know about QR codes, which we were talking about yesterday at lunch. Yeah, I know you laugh, but it's slightly more interesting than you might think. So
on a bit of a dry table, were you there? Lee, what was your column about this month?
Oh, just usual nonsense, including my adventures with meeting a certain Discord person in a sheep field in Kettering. But it is all related to Repair Just, but nothing out of the ordinary for me this month, just the usual nonsense.
I've not got around to reading Lee's column yet, but it's now gone straight to the top of my list, so I'll be straight on to that after Nibs, starting with you, Lee.
Sound Blaster, the brand that we don't really think about too much these days, has launched a Kickstarter to fund Reimagine, which is a modular audio hub with AI. Of course it's with AI. Basically, you plug it into your PC and it will handle sound input and output via wires or Bluetooth. It's sort of part Steam Deck, part external sound card and part Lego. And currently it's being offered in Horizon flavour, which is like a landscape layout with 5 slots for your module controllers. And the coming soon is Vertex, which is a 6-slot model, which is more portraity, and that will be unlocked as a stretch goal. Now, these modules that I'm talking about, these are basically your controllers. So think like buttons, faders, knobs, and there's a smart screen, which is a little touch screen that can do all sorts of things. And Creative Acclaiming studio grade sound with a built-in DAC and amp up to 32-bit, 384 kilohertz. It's also programmable with an SDK to allow creation of apps, including the running of retro PC games on the LCD. So yes, you can and will play Doom on it. The Sound Blaster Parrot is back, as is Doctor, and I am absolutely going to dampen this one, Sabatso? I wish I'd researched that one better. Apparently older listeners will remember it was Sound Blaster acting intelligent text-to-speech operator. It was their first go at text-to-speech. Anyway, the Parrot and Doctor and the Good Doctor are back with an AI upgrade. The current early bird discount is 267 quid, which is a significant discount over the laughable RRP of 384 quid. And the project has hit its funding goal with shipping due to start by July 2026.
I really hope we get to see one of those reviews because they look very interesting indeed. Darian, next one, please.
Yeah, you might have been wondering what Pat Gelsinger has been up to since he was elbowed out of Intel a couple of months ago, replaced by Lip Bhutan. He's taken over at Glue, which is a technology company I hadn't heard of before. Perhaps that's because I'm such a godless heathen, because they are serving the faith ecosystem, in Mr. Gelsinger's words. They are dealing in AI assistance and automations and services aimed at, quote, faith ministry and non-profit leaders. And so Pat Gelsinger apparently is delighted to be, he thinks he's in the right place, and fair play to him. He says, and I quote, "My life mission has been to work on a piece of technology that would improve the quality of life of every human on the planet and hasten the coming of Christ's return." So that's what he's currently working on. We'll keep an eye on that. So if Christ does come back, you'll hear it on the PC Pro podcast, I promise.
So much I want to say about that one, but let's move along. Lee.
Apple has announced that its AI-powered live translation feature will come to the European Union in December. This is one of the USPs for the AirPods even Pro. And if you remember, John talked about this at some point. Everything was delayed. Basically, there was a hiccup between Apple's compliance with the EU's Digital Markets Act. The sticking point was basically the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, puts rigid obligations on tech platforms, and under the rules, Apple needed to make the translation capability available basically to third-party wireless earbuds before it could roll out in the EU. So this obviously gave Apple an immense challenge in how to make conversations private and secure on non-Apple gear. So basically, EU had concerns about where the translation would happen, cloud or device, and Apple initially pleaded that EU users would fall behind globally because it would need time to find a solution. The EU then played a very small fiddle. Well, Apple stropped away. They've come back, and this resolution means that the translations are now only on the device, so users will need to download some language packs. The other side of this, in a report highlighted earlier today by Senor Honeyball, is that Apple does not wish to comply with the DMA on Wi-Fi syncing to third-party smartwatches, so that feature is going to get turned off. Anyway, these features, whether they'll arrive or disappear on your update, depending, will come later in the year, but those on Developer Beta 26.2 can apparently get them or not get them now.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hardware time, and it's back me again this week. And it's this thing right here on my desk that I have been using throughout this podcast in wonderful silence. I'm sure you've not even heard a scrape or a click, because this is the Logitech MX Master 4. Darren's holding one up. Is that the 3?
This is the 3, yes. I'm eagerly inspecting to see what the difference is.
So I'll tell you what, Darren, if you, apologies for anyone who's listening to this, because this could be sort of used to you, but if you flick your mouse horizontally and to the side like that, and I'm trying not to click, you'll see the big difference in terms of physical design is it's much less steep. So the first one, the 3, has a real arc shape to it. In fact, I've got one here as well, Darren. So I'll put it side by side so you can see the real difference.
I can't see any difference at all.
You're going to have to trust me, because this has got a much steeper arc in it, to the point where actually pressing that button, I found there's a button under the thumb on the MX mice that I always found a little bit uncomfortable to press, and they've just smoothed out that design, made it a little bit less contoured. So it's a much more easier to reach button. And the reason why they've done that is because they built haptic feedback into this. This is the big new feature for the MX Master 4. So this is sort of works in conjunction with a feature called Action Rings, which has been in the 3 and is in the 4. But so basically, when you press that button, the mouse button there, what opens up on your screen is a little ring of icons, and those icons are app specific. So if I press it on my Mac desktop, for example, I get options to turn the volume down, can adjust my screen brightness, I can lock the Mac by clicking on one of those icons. If I'm in Photoshop, it might be to change the brightness of a photo, or posterize the picture, or apply some other effects. If I'm in Spotify, it can add a song to a playlist or skip to the next track or whatever. So whichever app you're in, a context-aware set of icons on the screen comes up, and you use that button there basically to activate the ring, and then you select which icon you want just using the mouse and the normal button. And when you do that, you get a bit of haptic feedback on your hand. Whether that is the upgrade everyone's hoping for, I don't know. It sort of works. I think I could probably live with or without it. It's not massively changing my life, I have to say. So that's really the major upgrade. Other than that, you get so on Darren's mouse, you'll see there's 2 buttons here, which are traditionally used for or by default are used for back and forward on a browser. There's now a 3rd button on this sort of within thumb reach, and that's by default used for Windows controls. So if I, for example, hold it down and swipe left, you can pin your window to left, or swipe right, you pin it to the right. You can activate the launch pad or whatever Apple calls it this week. So it's different things to learn, basically different ways, functions you can assign to buttons. And all of this is done through a piece of software called Logitech Options Plus, which I have a very love-hate relationship with, because it's Logitech software, I would say, is not the best. I find it over cumbersome. It's certainly caused issues on my Mac, and in fact, for the past week, I've tried working with their support department. Eventually, had to go to the press people to even get this Action Ring feature working, because what was happening was certain permissions weren't enabled for some reason on my Mac, even though they said they were. So I couldn't get the system functions I talked about previously, where putting the volume up and down or locking the screen, they just wouldn't work. And every time I booted my PC, Logitech software would go, "You need to enable permissions for Logitech software to access this," and it's already enabled, but every time it would pop up. Eventually, they found a workaround where I had to basically remove it, add it back in. But last week, I spent at least 2 hours with Logitech online support team working through various different things, and an uninstallation process that had literally 18 steps in it, and they couldn't work it out. Eventually got elevated via the press department to higher support, and it's worked out. So I have to say it worked fine on my Windows machine. It was only the Mac that I struggled with, so make of that what you will. But if you go online onto forums like Reddit, people are not that impressed with Logitech software. So, but that said, you can uninstall the Logitech software completely and just use it as a regular mouse. Obviously, you won't get the special Action Ring functions or anything like that. But it's a damn good mouse on its own right, even without the Action Ring paraphernalia. It's very comfortable to move. It's just about the right weight for me. I think some mice are very, very light. Some, if they're too heavy, it's just a pain to drag around. I think they got the weight and the feel of it absolutely right. They've changed the sort of rubberized texture on the top here. The mouse clicks are very, very well dampened. You can barely hear it. I'm going to try it here and hope I don't exit out of Riverside. But that's me clicking the mouse. I doubt maybe you can hear it, maybe you can't, but it's really dampened. You're certainly not going to annoy anybody in your office with an MX Master 4. You might annoy the accountant, because these things are £110, so they are right up there in premium mouse territory, but they are pretty good. Gentlemen, any questions?
There's a lot to it. I don't want to just dismiss it and say, well, it's a mouse, what is there to ask? It's kind of more a case of, until you actually use it, like, you can't really identify what the pain points are and how it fits into your life. So I sort of feel a little bit, even though I have the MX Master 3, I guess if you've been using the MX Master 3, I could ask you well, you've said, like, you kind of described the haptic thing is definitely a difference. And I'm presuming, perhaps naively, you're not going to spend £100+ moving from a 3 to a 4.
Absolutely right. I think that would be a waste of money. But if you're looking for a new mouse, or you've just got a bog standard mouse, I mean, I've used those MX mice for years, and they are really good. They're really durable. The battery lasts. In fact, I hadn't charged it. I've had it a couple of weeks. I hadn't charged it. It was at 40%. I plugged it in just before lunch today, so it was on charge about an hour, and it's up to 100%. But you charge them maybe once every 2 months. It's just something you don't need to worry about. You got the free device compatibility, so you can just press the button on the bottom. So when I'm switching between Mac and PC, I just need to press the button on the bottom, and I can easily switch between the two. So yeah, they're just really good professional grade. Sounds silly for a mouse, but the sensitivity of it, the accuracy of it, the quietness, it's just a really nice mouse to use day to day.
It's also worth mentioning that unlike some mice, sorry, have you lost me?
No.
Okay. It's also worth mentioning that unlike some mice, you can continue to use it while it's plugged in, which is a major. I'm so glad when I come to it and it's glowing red, and I'm like, okay, just plug it in and keep going.
You can. I find that quite awkward. I mean, it's not Apple. They haven't put the charging port stupidly on the bottom, but it is there. I find it a little bit. Depends
really?
on the stiffness of the USB
it's just like using a. It's just like using a wired mouse. It's exactly the same as like the olden days when the tail, as it were, would come out the front.
Which you might be grateful for if the battery fails, because they don't sell spare batteries for these.
No, but no. I mean, it is a rechargeable battery, so
which is fine until it fails way ahead of its life. It should do. I agree. Edge cases, but I see a lot of them.
Really? Okay.
No, in laptops and things like that, where batteries just die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've used it. Like I say, I think I used the 2 before the 3. I've never had an issue with battery. That doesn't mean they don't exist, obviously, but I've never had an issue with battery at all on these mice. Lee, anything else?
Yeah, I'm just looking through Logitech's sales sheet here, Barry, and there's one of their items that really sort of strikes me as important, particularly under the haptic feedback. It says improve stain resistance. I just wonder if you can talk a bit more about that, and what have you tested it with? Like the old T-shirt adverts, have you done coffee and tea and red wine?
So I don't know if you can. It's hard to see on this camera, but this is the 3. So you can start to see on the buttons at the top, they start to get a little bit discoloured, and your hands on it. I'm sat at my computer for many hours a day with my hand on that mouse, so they're going to get a bit discoloured and manky after a while. But I didn't think it was a massive problem. Apparently, what they've changed here is some of the sort of rubberized texture on it. It's not quite as, it doesn't feel quite as rubbery, so it doesn't wear away quite as much as it did previously, apparently. But that, I wouldn't put too much stock in that, I have to say.
Yeah, my 3 hasn't picked up any stains, but there is a bit like where my skin rubs against it, where it's kind of gone a bit white and doesn't look nice.
No, it's not massively attractive.
So it's got a fungal infection, is what we're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yep.
Okay, Running Duck, are you going to make me do the poll this time? Because you're normally about 6 minutes ahead of us these days, but he's fallen asleep. The 1 week I didn't bother typing it in because I think he's beating it to me every. Oh, now Running Duck is typing.
He's on it.
Well, he's doing something. Anyway, now he's just typed at Barry Collins. Does that mean he's surrendering or?
Hey!
Oh, is it up there? Have I missed it already? Has there been so much?
Oh yeah, no, apparently it's already there.
It's already there.
Oh my god, it's like 4 pages.
Oh my god, it is. Chat. Yeah, right. Well, if you are following on Discord, and Running Duck's set this poll live about 20 to 1, so you might have to scroll up a bit, but please go and scroll up and cast your votes. Darian.
Yeah, it's like, is there any point now we've seen the outcome? But I mean, it's exactly as you say. I would not pay the extra money to upgrade from the 3 to the 4. But I have wasted a lot of money buying, say buy cheap, buy twice. I've gone with a lot of £15 mice and regretted it, and in the end I bit the bullet and paid about 60 or 70 for this one 5 years ago, and it's been absolutely solid. So if someone said to me, should I buy? I don't have a mouse. Should I buy the Logitech one? Is it worth the money? I'd probably say, yeah, do check out the 4. The one thing that I was interested in was the actions ring that you described, where you press the button to bring up the icons. But that's software. That's actually available for the 3. So
it is.
I've been quietly installing that while you've been talking. The thumb button you referred to, I don't know if they've improved. I don't know how it feels on the 4. Obviously, that's the thing you need to experience for yourself. But where it is on the 3, I find absolutely useless because you have to. I don't know if anyone watching on Riverside, you have to press down with your thumb, not inwards, but down, which is very unnatural. And so I just never used that. But I mean, there must be 7 or 8 buttons on this thing, and how many do you need? So I don't really mind that particular one isn't that great. So to answer the question, is it hot? It's a bit hard to say because it's yes, it is, because it is, I think, an actual significant improvement on what was already a market-leading mouse. But yeah, it's not. I don't feel my debit card burning a hole in my wallet as I do some weeks.
So was that a yes or no?
It was a yes, and the rest was just commentary.
Okay, good. Lee.
Well, the touch. Sorry, the rollerball on my desk is 2003. It's a Logitech. So I understand what Darren says about if you buy a decent mouse, they do tend to last. However, the thing that it's not the price that annoys me about this; it's the buttons. And I am saying this as someone that I have never owned one of these, and I've not used one for any great deal of time, but occasionally I come into contact with one of these and it drives me insane. It's like when you get a touchpad on a laptop, and it's one of the most common complaints I get, where people just can't use them because it's now trying to touch, and people who drag a finger on something and it thinks you're now pinching instead of touching, and it's swiping and blah blah blah. I want a mouse to do left, right, left click, right click, up, down, and scrolly wheel, done. That's it. I don't want anything else. It's like you have to be Rachmaninoff to play this thing, and then you've got to learn all the ways to swipe and swoop and click on this and do. And it's like, go away. I've got enough to learn with everything else. It's too damn complicated. But that is just me. So, and I also think if on your marketing material, literally the force option is improved stain resistance. It's like those Formula One races where they say this will get exciting when they change the tyres. You really know that you're in trouble. This is absolutely a dull as hell piece of stuff. They've run out of things to say. And also the fact that the thing now buzzes and it's got haptic feedback. No one wants that. No one wants your mouse buzzing across the desk when it's walking away on its own for no reason. You don't know what the hell's going on. No, this thing frightens me. I'm not scared to admit that I'm frightened. So, no, I'm afraid it's a not, Barry.
Okay. Well, I am going to go hot. I mean, like, as I say, if you've got a free, don't waste your money. Stick with it. Wait until it dies in a ditch or whatever before you upgrade to a 4. Probably the 5 or 6 will be out by then. But if not, I think it's a very good mouse. I think they've massively improved the design. Well, they've improved the design in terms of how steep it is, and it's much more easier to hit that fun button as Darren was talking about a minute ago, and that's quite handy, seeing that's part of their big new feature set. So I'm going hot, but it seems we've not quite run over the hoi polloi, who have gone 26% hot, 52% not, and then we've now got a third option, and me and Running Duck are going to have words in a minute about they hate lefties, so not, which earns 23%. Now that is an interesting point. I am left-handed, although I've always used my mouse right-handed because most of them were built with. I'm old enough to have. The reason I use my mouse right-handed is because when I started using one in anger at Sixth Form College, they glued the mouse mats to the right-hand side, and I just got used to doing it. Logitech do left-hand versions of many of their mice, but they don't appear to have done one for the MX Master Series, which is curious, and I will follow that up with them because I do want to understand why that is the case, given it's their showcase mouse. It is unusual, but let me chase it up with Logitech because I'm already in there.
I will also throw in that they actually manufacture far less of them, and getting hold of them is like hen's teeth.
Yes, well, but then it's only 1 in 10 people are
Hey,
left-handed.
wait,
and
we are valid. We are valid.
I speak as a left-hander, but let's be fair. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us. If you have joined us live or if you're listening later, you're also very welcome. I'm rambling. Let's get out this show with some integrity intact, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye. Cheers, everyone.
Right, Running Duck, come here. Come here, closer to the screen. Now listen carefully to me. We gave you this job to look after the polls out of charity. You did a reasonable job for the first few weeks, but you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself, son. You can't be putting a poll live before anyone's even said anything. So, and listen very carefully, this is a performance review. If you want to keep your position, you've got to wait until one of us says put the poll live. Otherwise, we're taking the control back. I'm turning the admin rights off. It's back with me. Are we on? Yeah? Good. Okay. Now we've got that sorted. Everyone can. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.